What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, looking at the new Subterrors revealed in Invasion Vengeance. I'm kind of understanding now how I think Konami wants this archetype to be played after looking at the new cards. I think they want it to operate somewhat similar to something like Pac-Man, where you're basically playing a bunch of monsters that flip face up and then, put themselves face down, and you're constantly just annoying your opponent, blowing up cards on their side of the field and doing other things like that that are just kind of annoying. With Subterrors, I think you want to get a couple of behemoths on the field and just constantly play this little flip-flop game of putting them face up, putting them face down, and every time you're activating their flip effects, you're either just banishing a monster on your opponent's side of the field, or you're just digging through your deck with your Destiny draw effect, or maybe you're just targeting a bunch of their set cards, like their spells and traps, and just blowing them up. And then when your opponent decides, okay, I want to attack one of these monsters, then Hidden City just jumps in and it's just like, nope, you can't attack. Or if they try and use like a Regeki or something that might, blow out your field, then, you can just basically stop a Dark Horse, something like that, with their new trap. So 4 new cards to discuss: 2 behemoths, 1 nemesis, and 1 trap. So let's start off with Behemoth. My God, I was gonna say Behemothus. What the heck is that? That's not even a word. Behemoth, Ultramafus. It's a level 12 Earth Pyro flip effect monster. 3,000 attack, 1,800 defense. The flip effect says you can change all other face-up monsters on the field to face-down defense position. You can only use the effect once per turn. That's pretty much built into like all the behemoths or whatever. I think that this effect is more or less not that great by itself. I think it's an effect to basically set up your other Subterrors. Obviously, this effect can be good against things like Magispectors or kind of like, stun monsters like Darklaw and stuff like that. Magispectors are very difficult to take down because they can't be targeted. They can't be destroyed by effects. But if you put them face down, because this is non-targeting, then they kind of just become like any other regular monster that you can just beat the shit out of. The second effect is pretty much built into all the behemoths. When a face-up monster you control is flip face down, if you have no other face-ups, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position, and then it can put itself face down via its own effect because it is a behemoth. But Ultramafus also works with a couple of the other cards that we'll discuss momentarily. So next up we have Nemesis Archer. It's a level 3 Earth Fairy monster. It is 1,600 attack, 1,400 defense. It says at the start of the damage step, if this attacks an opponent's face down monster and you control another Subterror, you can shuffle the monster into the deck. And if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or a card effect and sent to the graveyard, special summon 1 Subterror monster from your deck in face up or face down attack, or face down defense position. You can only use each effect once per turn. So this card is extremely good in my opinion. For starters, once it dies, as long as it goes to the graveyard, it just replaces itself with any Subterror that you want, which means you can just get the behemoth straight from the deck. And obviously it greatly benefits from this guy's effect, because now all of a sudden, if this guy has been flipped, your opponent's monsters all go face down. You can attack with Archer. You basically just spin their shit to the graveyard before you go into like damage calculation or anything like that. So the monster doesn't even get flipped, because it says at the start of damage step, so you never go into damage calculation. Pretty good. And I kind of wonder now, because of this monster, if there's going to be possibility, because I haven't played Subterrors, I wonder if things like Quaking Mirror Force and Floodgate Trap Hole are going to come into play, because those are other ways of just making your opponent's monsters just go face down and permanently. Like, I could see you potentially just playing this and, maybe your opponent pendulum summons 2 or 3 monsters, you activate a Floodgate Trap Hole, and then, Archer and another monster just make all their opponent's stuff just go to the deck. And also you could use 2 copies of Archer and just, go double speed. Next up, we have another card. This is another behemoth. It's called Stygo Kraken, and let's see, it's a Sea Serpent Earth. These types are all over the place, aren't they? They're all Earth, but the typing is, I guess it's because they live underground. Subterror, that makes sense that they're Earth, but their typing is like all over the place. 1,600 attack, 2,400 defense. I like monsters with high defense in this archetype. It's a flip effect. It says you can target cards on the field equal to the number of Subterror behemoth monsters you control, destroy them. You can only use the effect once per turn, and then obviously, being able to special summon it and flip it face down, yada, yada, yada. So this is another card that works directly with Ultramafus. Basically, if you flip Ultramafus, I'm probably butchering his name. If you flip him up face first, you can, I don't know, put maybe 2 or 3 monsters your opponent has face down, and then you flip this guy over and you just basically nuke your opponent's monsters. Or more likely, you can just go after their back row if they don't have any monsters on the field. So this seems pretty decent. And At the minimum, if you flip this guy face up, guys, it should be able to blow up one card because it does not say other behemoth monsters, so it counts for itself. So at the minimum, it should be kind of like, I guess, like a Galaxy Cyclone type deal where you just get to go after one monster. Actually, no, excuse me, Night Beam. That's more of a, I mean, your opponent can chain it, but more or less it should act like at least a Night Beam. This is one of the ways that I see this deck kind of just controlling their opponent's back row every single turn if you're able to just constantly flip this guy over, flip him face down and just constantly reuse the effect. And then we have their trap card, which I think this could be, I can't tell the rarity of it. I know this one right here, I know Nemesis Archer, she looks like a secret rare. If you just look at her, you just look at that kind of gray color over like the name and whatnot, and this one looks like a ultra rare. But I think this one could be either a super or a secret possibly. It's a normal trap. It says you can banish one Subterror monster from your graveyard. For the rest of the turn, face down monsters you control cannot be destroyed by effects, and your opponent cannot target them with effects. So anti-Regeki, anti-Dark Hole, anti-things like Karen, or anti-things like Dark Destroyer. That is very important. If this card on the field is destroyed by a card effect, you get to add one Subterror monster from your deck to your hand. So basically F you to Twin Twister. And then it gets even better, actually. It says you can banish this card from the graveyard, target one Subterror monster you control, change it to face down defense position. This is important because if your opponent activates something like, let's say one of your behemoths wants to go face down, right? Your opponent, if you're playing against a deck like Blue Eyes, they're probably just going to use Effect Veiler to make sure your opponent or your monster is kept in attack mode. This is another way to forcibly put that monster face down and get around things like Effect Veiler or Breakthrough Skill, or maybe like a Fiendish Chain where your effect has been negated and your monster is trapped in face up attack position. So I think the trap is super useful. I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of mass removal going around, a lot of people side decking Regeki and Dark Hole and whatnot, and if you have 3 monsters on the field, especially if they're all behemoths, like, you were pretty much asking for your opponent to immediately rip, or activate Regeki when they get it. So this is kind of like a counter, and plus it just works on all monster effects. So I think it's kind of solid. So let me know what you guys think of the new Subterrors. Leave that in the comment section below. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, or if you like Subterrors, and subscribe if you have not already.